And welcome to the Strength Block podcast. I'm the first host, Damien, and
I'm Sophie, the wife.
and yeah, we thought that we would just have a little discussion today. If you're listening to this podcast and you have any topics that you would like to be discussed, please feel free to send them in. We want this to be a community discussion, right? So if there's anything we can use our years of experience to help you understand better or give our insights into, don't ever hesitate to ask. There's no stupid questions, which kind of leads us into a segue of what today's podcast is about, which is the five mistakes we both made when we first started training, when we first started on our
Health and fitness journey, I guess.
Health and fitness journey.
Yeah.
Firstly, how did you find writing this list? Was it?
I feel like I didn't spend much time in the early days without that much guidance. Like, I've been pretty onto it. Well, so I met Damien like 8 years ago. And prior to that, I hadn't really spent much time training or worrying too much about nutrition. There was a few fads here and there. But yeah, I didn't feel like I was ever lost that much. So I feel like mine were harder to come up with because I didn't spend much time in that unknown area.
And then I would be on like the other end of the spectrum because I was like, when I got into fitness, I got like hyper focused into it. And I'm that combination of like being hyper focused and being really arrogant where I don't ask for help. So I'm determined to figure out everything by myself. Even though I am a personal trainer, I've never hired a personal trainer. I've never hired a coach. So I made lots of mistakes when I first started up. But like, it is kind of one of those things where it's like, what is a mistake if it didn't have any like major detriment to anything, but you learned from it, right? Like it's a learning experience if you're willing to take the setback, if that makes sense.
Or just a waste of time.
Or just a waste of time. But it's good to know what is a waste of time, right?
Yeah.
Did you want to start with your first one? What did you have written down?
Okay, so mine, mostly, I feel like mine would have come from the nutrition side of things, because that was more prevalent for me than exercise. I kind of did sport, like I did gymnastics and ballet and that kind of thing. So I was never in the gym trying to figure things out for too long. But nutrition-wise, there were some things. So my first one would be no carbs after 6 p.m. or kind of cutting carbs right down. Low carb, no carb, lettuce burgers, that kind of thing.
Yeah, the carb, like, the demonization of carbs is such a funny one because it may be one of the things that I have seen be the most persistent, right? Like, what is like in the zeitgeist of health and fitness at the time? What is like popular changes constantly, but people thinking that cutting carbs as being like something they should be doing it has real staying power, right? Like, isn't it like the first thing people will like take on their own accord is cutting carbs for some reason?
Yeah, as if your body also knows what time of day it is. And from 5:30, carbs are fine. 6 p.m., you've ruined it. Like it doesn't make sense logically if you think about it too much.
And I used to also not eat carbs after 6. So that was something I fell into a trap with as well. Yeah. So
I think there's some, like, obviously having carbs like really late at night, heavy carb meals, your body, is trying to digest. And if you have it too kind of close to sleeping, then that is where it can interrupt your sleep and you might not have as good of sleep, going on a little bit of a roller coaster as your body's trying to break it down. But back then, that wasn't even a thought. It was literally like, if I eat carbs after 6, that's where the fat happens.
The interesting thing about like because I'm more in agreement to you with that, but there is like this counterpoint that I think has been made quite popular from like the vertical diet, right? Which is like Stan Efferding's diet. And he actually recommends like having quite a substantial amount of carbs before bed to help like ride that insulin wave, that dip into sleep. So it's like,
I don't know.
and it's like, I don't know which one's right, but it's probably one of those things, as most things are with diet, where it's preference, right? Like if you metabolize carbs well and you get a burst of energy from it,
Yeah.
maybe don't eat them before bed,
Yeah.
but
Or don't be eating such a huge meal that you're feeling full, like you're overly full, that then your body is struggling. It might be fine to eat the carbs and it may help, but then not until the point of where you're like uncomfortable and trying to sleep.
yeah. It's interesting for me though, because it's like with my ADHD meds, I struggle to eat during the day. So I almost have no option but to carb load at the end of the day in preparation for the next day. And if I don't eat enough carbs at dinner, I feel like it affects me the next day, because I know I'm not going to have that appetite to get more into me. But I think I'm the outlier in that case. I'm the freak.
And I think just thinking about it as from purely a fat gain, fat loss situation, it doesn't matter when you're having them. It's just the total amount during your day, through the day, through the week. It's your calories, isn't it?
You can get lost in the nuances of like have some simple carbs before a workout to help you train better, have some even simpler carbs intra-workout to stay fulfilled. But that's really like majoring in the minors, where it's like it doesn't matter. Like you can make things better and optimal, but it's all about how much effort are you willing to put in it. But what we can assure you of is nothing magical happens by not eating carbs after 6. You're not a werewolf or, I don't know, werewolf, vampire, something that transforms at night. You'll be perfectly fine if you're eating carbs. Carbs are the best source of energy our body has. Yes, you can run off fats through ketosis and all that kind of stuff, but we are actually designed to run off carbs. It's why we're so good at consuming them as well, because it's like our body loves carbohydrates. Don't be scared of them. They're not a demon. All right. So that's your first point. Interesting. It's cool that we had a bit of crossover on that one.
What do you have?
So my first one, I had like the classic like bodybuilding splits, like having an arm day, a leg day, a shoulders day, the 5-day bodybuilder split. And I don't, especially for beginners, I don't think that is that's the most optimal way to train. I do think if it's a way you enjoy training, you can do it.
I feel like a lot of people still train that way.
Oh yeah, a lot of people do. So what I would think it would actually break down to is actually most beginners shouldn't be doing as much isolation work. You know, like focusing on just your biceps, focusing on just your quads, focusing on just like these individual muscles. Mainly because like as a newbie, you're going to grow, right? Like compound movements are going to be better bang for your buck. They're going to get you neurologically stronger, and you're going to be building up muscle in all of those places that you can probably later isolate.
Yeah.
But it's not that important to in the beginning.
As well as training that many days anyway. If you're a beginner, you'd be better off, training your like major compound lifts, but training like 3 days a week instead of going 5 to 6 days a week.
You're about to take away my final point on this, but yes, I completely agree. And I just want to make it clear that the bodybuilding split does work, and it is about training preference, right? But the bodybuilding split as we know it, the traditional one, the one that you see the golden era of bodybuilders doing, is it is based off like drug use, like steroid use. Because when you're using anabolic steroids, you're basically increasing your protein synthesis window, which is the amount of time your body can build muscle after it's been stimulated, right? So for a normal person, if you stimulate your bicep, do some curls, you've got about, for men, I think it might be different for women, you got like 48 hours of that muscle recovering and rebuilding, and then it stops growing. You're not going to grow. So when you start doing like these specific days, if you're training on a Monday to do arms, and then you're training the following Monday to do arms, your arms are only growing from Monday, Tuesday, maybe a little bit of Wednesday, and then you got the rest of the week for this to like re-stimulate that muscle. If you are a person that's taking androgynous hormones, that window increases, and you can actually push it all the way out to a week, so that one stimulus can last you an entire week. And that's why it works so well for bodybuilders that are enhanced.
So you keep reaping more
benefits whereas
throughout the week.
Yeah, it's like you only have to, you can grow on less volume, less frequency, because of that like longer window.
Recover quicker, right? So you can hit the muscle more often.
What if you're enhanced?
Yeah, compared to if you weren't.
I would say it's almost like the opposite way round. Like, yes, you recover faster on drugs, but you don't need to have the higher frequency when you're enhanced.
Right.
Because you have that longer window. Like your arms you stimulate your arms once, they grow for 7 days, whereas a natural athlete's going to stimulate their arms once, and then they're going to grow. And that's when you do start having that recovery thing where it's like, it's better to like stimulate your arms with a minimal dose of volume so that you can hit them later again in the week, rather than hitting them so hard that you can't train for a week because they're messed up, but they actually weren't growing that entire time. They were just sore. So yeah, I think compound lifts, bigger bang for your buck, and it's what most beginners should be focusing on. And I definitely wasted multiple years not building up my squat, not building up my deadlift, not building all that stuff up. But we can't cry over spilt milk. What is your one?
All right, I'm looking at mine, and mine are actually all, I feel like, all nutrition.
It's good girl stuff, right?
So my second one is supplements that are pushed on the internet. And it's actually funny because I was talking to one of my friends today. So one of my friends, whenever she's kind of like influenced by a health supplement or something like that promotes weight loss or whatever, she'll send me it and she'll be like, what are your thoughts on this? And then I'll be like, no. But then now thinking about back to when I was first into health and fitness, one of the big supplements around that I bought from a really terrible ad on the internet was Garcinia Cambogia.
Oh,
If you
I
remember,
haven't even heard this one. What is this one?
If you remember Garcinia Cambogia, it's like some Amazonian fruit plant.
It's always an Amazonian.
Like, I feel like there's obviously going to be some health benefits to it, but at the time it was like, this is going to melt your fat cells away. And I mean, I'm terrible at taking vitamins and pills and supplements as it is, so I can't say that I even really finished the container. But yeah, pop-up ad on whatever at the time, maybe Facebook in the very early days, and I bought Garcinia Cambogia through the internet, and that was...
They love those like the appeal to like nature, appeal to like mysticism, where it's like, for some reason it's better because it's like in a rainforest that the supplement comes from. You know, like the more remote the place is, the more, for some reason, has a symbiotic relationship with humans where it helps us out.
My God, this whole time, if I'd known that plant existed, my life would be so different.
It was just in a misty mountain in the Amazon this whole time. You have to go on like a monk's journey to go pick this flower.
They've capsuled it up.
Yeah, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. So that was one. And I mean, it's still prevalent today. The spam on the internet of the latest quick fixes to lose fat, whatever, you know, like it's you have to really weed through the bullshit a lot.
Green tea extract, black pepper extract, and it's like they'll take like the smallest study that shows minor changes and then just like create an entire narrative over how that's all going to change.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. My second point that I wrote was getting lost in the supplement world, right? Because I think
We haven't shared our lists here,
yeah,
which is interesting that they do cross over so much, because we wanted to be kind of just off the bat.
yeah,
Authentic.
because like I think this is a slightly different thing because like males we get targeted for like building muscle, increasing your testosterone, which just for the record, there is not a legal supplement on the face of this planet that is going to increase your testosterone in any kind of manageable way. Like, it just doesn't happen. But the thing I feel like I got lost in was I took a bunch of supplements because I thought you had to do it. But then the problem is like I was a beginner, so I did start putting on muscle. I did start seeing changes.
And you think it's from the supplements.
Yeah, you're like 8 supplements deep and you don't know what you can take out and potentially lose your gains.
Yeah,
you're
too
like
scared. It's the fear. You're on the fear cycle now.
You attribute what food and training has given you to supplements, right?
Yeah.
So for a reference point, if you're wanting to take supplements, some of them do help, like little bits and pieces, but protein powder, only important if you're not eating enough protein. It's not magic. You can just get that from food, but some people struggle to get it from food, then get a good protein powder. Creatine, that's a non-negotiable, I think. The more we hear about creatine, not even from a performance point of view, it just seems to fix cognitive benefits.
More and more studies are coming out on creatine being super good, especially for women, cognitively, postmenopausal. Yeah, it's really, really good.
And to all the guys out there, creatine does not make you lose your hair. There is no evidence. Did you know that's a thing?
I've heard that,
yeah. It's like, I've been taking creatine for over a decade.
And look at those curly
Look
locks.
how much hair I have. I think it's one of those funny things where it's like, I think people start training and taking things like creatine when natural male pattern baldness kicks in, and they confuse those two things thinking it is. One of the interesting things I want to talk about with supplements is, and I know we've had this discussion, is because I'm like a dinosaur in this industry, I've been around for a while, the thing I didn't realize was going to be so prevalent was the recycling of compounds that have already come and gone. So, for instance, when I started training, HMB was a big thing, right? So HMB is a supplement that supposedly uses your carbs to like build and sustain muscle. So it's like a really good one for like holding onto muscle and building muscle and efficiently using energy. Could have that completely wrong. Something like that, whatever it is, the marketing's wrong in it anyway. It was the big thing. It kind of showed up. Everyone tried it, didn't do anything, disappeared out of the market. And like me as like a science-y person that doesn't like the peddling of bullshit, I was like, oh, cool, HMB is gone. They just wait like 3 years and then they relaunch it and say the same thing. And I watch the same thing happen because more and more people just keep entering into the gym world so they can resell stuff. They aren't innovating. They're just bringing up stuff that's already failed again, and they can just cycle what's like the in supplement until it stops working. You watch, mark my words, testosterone, that will disappear in the next year, and then you'll hear about it in the next 5 years again, and we'll go back to testosterone sounding like testosterone, and people will all want to be taking it. I kind of went into my second point. So, did you want to do your third point, or?
You mean your third point?
My third point?
Had you been in? Okay. Third point. So this is, now that I've met Damien, moving forward in my training and nutrition world, if it fits your macros, which I still do love counting calories, by the way, just caveat, but without any thought on micronutrient importance. So basically, calories in, calories out, focusing on this heavily. So say you can eat 1,800 calories a day, but making this up with like hitting the protein, but then maybe like just the rest is made up of things like, say, like donuts, fries, burgers, whatever.
Pop-Tarts.
As long as you like stay in that calorie window. And yes, you can lose weight, and I have done that while eating that kind of food. But then compared to if you were counting calories, as well as looking at the micronutrient side of the food, the benefits, the vitamins, the minerals that the food contains. So eating more whole foods, you actually feel so much better. So I think if it fits your macros, was a big thing, still is a big thing, but how you do it actually does have some importance.
The thing with like, if it fits your macros, and a step that I feel like everyone glosses over that fixes a bunch of stuff from it, is they like your macros, your carbs, fat, protein, right? It has a fiber requirement in there as well. And if
never really cared about that.
Yeah, if you ignore, you can definitely change your body composition ignoring a fiber requirement, but that fixes a lot of the issues. If you're getting fiber from natural places, right? If you're just going to take, what's it? It's like just taking 20 grams of psyllium husk to try hit the fiber. But if you are getting it from places where you get fiber, like vegetables, that kind of stuff, you got to look after your micronutrients.
Yeah.
But I never hear someone be like, they'll be like, I'm on 180 grams of protein, 200 grams of carbs, and 90 grams of fat. And they never follow that up with like, and 30 grams of fiber. No one's tracking fiber, even though I would argue maybe it's because we're getting old. Fiber is like maybe the most important macronutrient.
Yeah. You got to think about your gut health at the same time. If you can count calories and still think about your gut health, your microbiome, diversifying it, and keeping your body running well. Your body's going to run better if it's hitting those like vitamins and minerals and getting all those good things, like anti-inflammatory properties from food, rather than hitting your macros but running it off fried food or like, I don't know, deli meat, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that is an interesting, because I've been bad for it. And I think as a guy, you limit it down even more. You don't even be like, does it fit my macros? You're like, all you do is you chase your protein goal. Like once a week I eat one of those like family pizzas that I'm sure are absolutely awful for you, the frozen Chicago ones. But in my head, I'm like, this thing has 60 grams of protein in it. Like I don't care about anything other than the 60 grams of protein. But yeah, I think you are right. Like the micronutrient side of things is way more important. And it's something we have to be more aware of as well, because our soils are lacking like a lot of micronutrients.
Yes.
And sometimes, unfortunately, you do have to supplement accordingly if you want to feel the best you can feel. Right? Okay. So this kind of does lead into my third point. Mine was, and I think this is a big mistake a lot of beginners make, is focusing on being lean and having a six-pack. Like, I understand when guys join the gym, they want to look good, and for some reason, looking good is having visible abs, having a six-pack. The first thing I want to say about having a six-pack is like a lot of it is quite genetic based on just like where you hold your fat. Some guys,
for women and men. Really.
Yeah, both.
Yeah.
Some people are gonna have abs at significantly higher body fat percentages than others. Others are going to have to lean down to the point that it's uncomfortable. And especially when you're new to the gym, the amount of weight most guys have to lose to have a visible six-pack is going to be an unsustainable body fat percentage. And when I first leaned down like crazy, like single-digit body fat, and I I look at it now. I was like, I didn't have like, I had some definition, but I wouldn't consider it having muscle. The fact that it took so much effort to essentially starve myself into that position, and then spending the next year and a half probably trying to stay like that, I left money on the table. I left
what a waste of time.
The ability to make progress. I was just in the gym doing what I could, making zero progress, but I was so worried about losing my abs,
Trying to
right?
keep your body fat really low.
And unfortunately, like if...
Which means you would have been in a deficit.
Oh yeah, I was in a deficit for a while.
So you're not going to be building if you're in a deficit, really.
Yeah.
It's going to be slow.
Yeah, and it's deceiving because you will build in a deficit initially when you're new, but then it's like that beginner phase ends real fast if you're in a deficit the entire time, and then it's like you're just spinning your wheels, right? And so like I don't think most people, unless you're obese, I don't think when you start training, your main focus should be like a calorie deficit. This is kind of a personal take.
Yeah,
but
it's really hard because a lot of people, when they've finally kind of worked up the courage to go into a gym, or like they're just starting out, it's because it's being driven by aesthetics. They're unhappy with how they look. So that is the goal that gets them to go into the gym in the first place. Yeah. People don't always enter the gym being like, I'm in here to get strong and work on my mental health. Like it's, I want to look better. So it's hard to then be like, I don't want you to think about losing any weight.
Yeah.
You know, I can see how it's like off-putting for some people.
And it's like, the thing is, if you start training correctly and you're eating correctly, your body is going to recompose. Like you are going to look different. You're going to look better. And I don't think it has to be so weight loss focused, because you end up digging a hole. Because even if you're like obese, like you're really big, if you start cutting aggressively right in the beginning, you will run out of calories before you're thin, before you're lean, right? Like you will be miserable. You can just like, because to have a deficit, you got to keep pulling it down. So I personally think if you're not overweight, I don't think you should be worrying about weight loss to begin. I know everyone wants to get shredded off the bat, but I think getting shredded is something you should maybe only look at after like 2 years of like solid training. You build up that muscle mass, give your body the ability to get in shape. But I also know I'm talking like an old man who is willing to do this for like a long time. And it's not what most people want. But if I could give someone the optimal idea, I'd be like, spend 2 years just maintenance calories.
I think starting out at maintenance is also a good idea. Even if you don't have to wait 2 years, like I feel like it's excessive, but I think, going in and just sitting at maintenance with your calories for a while and just working on your strength and the movement patterns and getting everything into a really good routine. It's a good place to start rather than going in on a deficit. Yeah.
I definitely have. I've had the opposite. I've had the issue with multiple people I've trained online and in person, where it's like they have leaned down and then they come to the guy that helps people build strength rather than like bodybuilding. And I'm like, you're going to have to eat more. Like, I can't get you stronger if your body is constantly fighting. And it's like, they're worried that they're suddenly going to get fat. And you like start pushing more carbs in them and they don't even get fat. They just perform better. And it just shows how deep of a deficit you're in when you're not like spilling over when you've increased your carbs by a bunch.
It's also like you're not suddenly going to put someone in like an intense surplus where you are starting to put on fat. Like maintenance or even a tiny surplus, like if it's small, you're going to have benefits from it. You're not going to just put on heaps of fat.
I did toss this up because I wrote focusing on getting lean because I've done both ends of the spectrum. I've also like dirty bulked up.
Oh,
right?
That's my next point.
You're around for the. All right, you talk about it. We can have a chat.
Okay, So yeah, dirty bulking, because it kind of carries on from what I was talking about previously, whereas counting calories and not focusing on the quality of the food goes into dirty bulk as well. Like when I actually was trying to bulk, it was terrible because at this point I went from like 50 to 60, and that's 10 kgs is a lot on my frame. But at the same time, my iron had plummeted and I was severely anemic and had no idea. And it really, like, any work that I did in that time, I just didn't get any benefits from it. So in the end, it was just fat because...
Yeah, you bulked up and then you cut down and you were exactly where you started,
It was a real waste of my time. But yeah, dirty bulking, you don't have to be in an excessive calorie surplus. You can actually be in a very minor surplus and still get really good results, I think. Otherwise, you can just end up with a lot of excess fat that you don't need to. Like you will end up with extra fat being in a surplus, and you do want to have those extra calories for your recovery, but you don't need to push it so far that you're putting on heaps of extra fat than you actually need to be.
Yeah. I'm going to say like the bro side of this. I feel, if you don't care that much about aesthetics, I feel like every person that trains in the gym should experience what it's like to be at a heavier body weight while trying to get strong. There is something magical about being slightly fat and never having to worry about recovery, right? Like I do love it. Like your joints feel great because you've got a bit of fat around your joints. You don't have to worry about anything. You're eating all the time. But the caveat of this is like this kind of fat that I'm talking about, it definitely, you can't be too fat.
No, then you feel like shit.
Yeah. So
it gets to a point where you're like, I feel like you're breathing and everything feels compromised.
I bulked up to like 100 kgs once in my life. I normally walk around between like 89 and 92 seems to be my sweet spot. And I was strong, but like I'd be like eating dinner and having like heart palpitations, like like all the signs of overweight. I bet you if I had my blood tested at that point, I would have been like pre-diabetic and stuff. So there is definitely like a too fat. I do think that there is some benefit to spending some time being a little bit chubby, but I'm still talking like 20% body fat here. I'm not talking about like 30, 40%. And yeah, doing it like in like a dirty bulk fashion, easiest way to put on weight. But if you bulk in a cleaner fashion, your body kind of does set limitations to itself to stop you getting in these really unhealthy positions, right? Like where you feel like absolute crap. And yeah, the older you get, the harder it is to come back from that. Like every time I've pushed my weight, the journey back down has been harder and harder and harder. And I don't know why.
But doesn't it come down to like the fat cells that we have in our body? They are harder they expand. So
basically what happens is when you put on fat, you develop fat cells that fill with fat, right? And then when you lose weight, those fat cells empty, but they don't disappear. So you create more ability for storage.
So you can create more fat cells.
You can create more fat cells.
But you can never lose them again.
Correct.
So it's easier then if you have put on too much fat to then not accidentally kind of put on fat in the future.
Yeah, and not only that, like even empty fat cells are responsible, but they're also responsible for releasing lectin and ghrelin.
Right.
So you have a bigger appetite if you are a person that has been fat. Right. So it's like that's why it's really hard to break the obesity yo-yo, like because you've got
your hunger hormones, the ghrelin. Yeah.
Well, that's very interesting. I know I just sounded like I glorified it. Don't do any bulk action. Like, don't do it unless you know what you're getting yourself into. What's your fifth one?
My last one is thinking of, I can't do cardio and my strength training, or like that the cardio is going to affect my strength training. I'm probably putting too much emphasis on that, like thinking it would affect it a lot, where now it's like the importance. I mean, I still don't do cardio. Like, I'd like to. I'm just really, I just don't do it. I'd like to do it for the kind of heart health and cardio health, that kind of thing. Not for kind of body composition as such. But yeah, so previously I would have thought that kind of doing cardio, it will affect my strength gains and my muscle gains. And now we know that it's perfectly doable to do both and beneficial, and actually doing some cardio can help your strength training
and recovery
as well, and vice versa.
A strong cardiovascular system helps recovery. Full stop. Like end of. Even if we look at like the old West Side barbell powerlifters, right? Like the gnarliest powerlifters from the 80s. These guys were like fat, their blood pressure was through the roof, all this stuff, right? They look like they what people think of powerlifters, like the cliche, look at the fat, lazy powerlifter. If you look at like Louis Simmons' conjugate system, which is the West Side barbell way of training that these fat guys were doing, one of the most important parts of it is GPP, which is general physical preparedness. So although these guys were fat, they still recognized the need to do GPP, which they would do lots of sled pulling, sled pushes, like long distance carries. It was all about like, they used it as a means of recovery.
Yeah.
And that kind of got lost when we moved into the second wave of powerlifting, where everything became like these optimal percentages and stuff. And then I think bodybuilding bros also had the cardio kills your gains thing happening.
There was definitely like a big, well, that's what people believe. Like it was out there thing.
Yeah. And it's one of those things that I would say, as with anything, it's all about energy balance, right? Like if it's affecting your, if your cardio is affecting your lifting, you're missing a recovery piece.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You can overdo it.
You can.
Don't get me wrong. Like, we have like a member of our gym that wanted to run a marathon, and it's only natural then. It's like, well, your strength training is going to have to be a little bit more chill.
Yeah.
Than someone.
Kind of choose your priority a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
If it's such a big focus. I mean, if it's just your general health and sport that you're doing, you can balance the two.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, as you can see in like things like high rocks and those kind of things as well. They kind of you can do strength training and you can do your...
There's always going to be one that's a priority and one's a secondary. Like I think it's very rare to be really good at both. But most people aren't trying to be really good at just one thing, right? Like, it's perfectly fine. And again, as someone that's competed in strongman and powerlifting, the best in both of those sports that are just like pure strength, they're cardiovascularly fit, especially strongman. People underestimate how once you've got that base level of strength to compete in strongman, the thing that will kill you is your engine. Like not being able to keep up with carrying something fast. And like these sports have been mixing strength and conditioning for yonks. It's just in the gym with like gym bro logic that we think that it can't be done. Sometimes it also just means being able to eat more than you think you need to.
Yeah, that's all my 5. You've got one more point?
Yeah, I actually had 2 more points, but I will say, because I kind of jumped in on one of yours. And then my last point will be an easy plug. We did touch on this earlier. More training equals more gains, right? So it's like we see people that want to train in the gym 5 times a week, 5, 6, 7. They don't have recovery days. They have active recovery days. They just never stop.
Yeah.
And this is fine. If you love it, don't feel pressured that you have to train 5 times a week, right? That's my first thing. people that have been training for a long time, such as myself, such as Sophie, we probably train less than you think we do.
Yeah, I think
People are always
yeah,
shocked.
always surprised.
Yeah. Like,
They assume you're there every day.
if I'm busy for the gym, I will cut my training down to twice a week if I'm just maintaining, 3 times a week if I still have like a goal I'm chasing, 4 times I find optimal, but I don't see that much of a difference between 3 and 4.
Yeah, I think a lot of people also think like if you're not training 5 or 6, 7 times a week, that you're either not dedicated or you must not love it enough. Like you don't enjoy the gym. The gym can't be one of your things if you're not training that often. Otherwise, wouldn't you want to be there all the time? But it's like, train smarter.
Yeah, it's
not harder.
It's absolutely crazy. There are times where you got to grit your teeth and get shit done, right? So
if you're competing.
Like Sophie and I both competed in powerlifting. I remember in one of our meet preps, we were training 4 to 5 times a week, and each of those sessions were like 2 to 2.5 hours.
Yeah, those are long.
And at one point, me turning to Sophie and be like, this is a part-time job. Like, we are in the gym like 15 hours a week. Yeah. That's ridiculous, right? Yeah. And it's like, that is not required to be healthy.
Unless you're a competitive athlete and maybe you are literally getting paid or you're trying to compete at a high level, then you probably have to push it.
Yeah.
If you're not, then you don't need to do that. I'm in there 3 to 4 times a week.
Yeah, and here's the thing. Even when we were training 5 times a week, 2 to 2.5 hours a session, when you're training like that, you're kind of in this mindset where you're like, I'm either going to like peak and PB, or I'm about to be injured and burnt out, and I'm hoping this one wins. Yeah. That is not a sustainable way to be. That is a sustainable thing to do for competitions and nothing else, right? Like, and you cannot, even if you pull off one of those cycles, and I've made this mistake before, like you pull off this crazy training cycle, you hit some PBs, you're so excited you want to do it again. You will bomb out the net if you try to pull one of those like back to back. Yeah. So more training does not equal more progress. I've literally had people where I've pulled their training back to make them progress. Like they've hit a wall, they're plateauing on everything, and it's like, let's just focus on quality over quantity.
Yeah, and getting the adequate rest in.
Yeah.
You progress in the rest, like you grow in your sleep, so you need that. You need the rest.
How about like maybe the reason you're plateauing your squat is because you're not fresh the next time you're trying to push the squat. Like what happens if we allow you to come in at 100% multiple weeks in a row? That's when the magic happens, when you're recovering between that stuff.
Instead of giving 70% effort 5 times, 6 times a week, you give 100%, 110% those 3 days.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's a really important thing. It's like you don't actually have to train that much. If you are brand new to the gym, I don't know who would be listening this far if they were brand new to the gym, but if you were brand new to the gym, as someone that has trained clients once a week, and that's the only strength training they do, it's a slow journey, but you will get better. Like if that's all you want to do and you're willing to just patiently do it, what will happen, and I've seen it happen multiple times, you train them once a week, boom, boom, boom. Maybe this happens for 3 months. And then they're like, they start getting excited because they see themselves doing better. Now they're motivated to go twice a week. And then within a year, it's like, it's a part of their life. It's not they're forcing themselves to train, because that's another thing. We don't force ourselves to train. It is a part of our life. It is like taking a shower. It's just something, bad example for me. It's just something we have to do, right? It's just, my week doesn't feel right. I can take a break from training, Sophie as well. We could take a month off, but I'll start twitching for it. Yeah. Right? Like, I'm not like, oh, thank God, that stress is gone.
Yeah, it goes both ways as well, because like if you do, say, take a few weeks off, people who overtrain look at you and like, are you going to be all right? Like, you're taking a month off. Like, they're freaked out. They're more worried for you. Deal because they can't imagine, because of how much they train, taking that time off. I feel like once you've been training for so long, you're like, I can take a month off. It's all good. Like, I might lose a little bit and I'll be able to jump back in and put it back on real quick.
And sometimes it's weird seeing what happens when you do take a month off. So I'm currently injured as of recording this, right? I've like hurt my wrist and I can't barbell train. I can't do any like pressing movements with my hand. And this has gone on for 3 weeks. I probably have another 2 weeks before I can do anything proper. And like I even forget. So I've still been training. I've been doing everything I can with my legs, but it's taken out like 50% of the stuff I do. And like my upper body has like grown in this time. And I can't 100% tell you why. Some of it might just be I've given myself time to recover, because I did like a strongman comp, then straight into a challenge. Like I was blistering it. And now I've had some time off and I'm like, I thought I'd look like terrible by now, but I'm like, I'm actually pretty happy with what's happening with like my shoulders and stuff. And it might literally be for once I've given myself the space to just recover from all the crazy work I've been doing in my upper body. And don't get me wrong, it probably will start going backwards now. It's not sustainable. But it's just, don't be afraid of rest. Okay. The final thing I wrote was, which is now just going to turn into a sneaky plug, is not having a plan, right?
Yeah.
Progressive overload is the most important thing when it comes to training, having some form of progress, whatever that looks like. And the vast majority of people are failing not because of their intensity or inability. It's the managing of how training works. And thankfully, we have a handy dandy app for that. This wasn't supposed to be a plug, but it will be now. The Strength Block app is basically Sophie and my brainchild that has, like, I would say some of the best programming available from an app from New Zealanders. I haven't seen anyone else do it. This isn't an app written by Joe Blow PT. This is people that care about performance.
We follow these ourselves. So
we use
we're not going to put anything out there that we wouldn't do ourselves.
We've had multiple... we've run challenges using it. Every single person that's tried this app loves it, and we want you to try it. So if this is something that you wanted to give a go, we have a 14-day free trial.
Yep.
You can cancel it before then, but 2 weeks, I promise you're going to absolutely love it. Programs from beginner through to absolutely advanced lifters. We've got something for you. Range of different goals. It is mainly strength-based, but there is some more conditioning stuff, more chill stuff.
It's gym-based.
All gym-based. We know our people. So give the Strength Block app a go. 14-day free trial. Visit our website. And yeah, I'll leave that link in the description. But that's all we wanted to talk to you about today. Hope you've enjoyed this podcast. Is there anything you want to finish off with?
No.
All right. Till next time. Sayonara.